How's it going, good people? This video, I want to actually be splitting out the Jukebox API for the Christmas light show. I did some analysis and started looking at things, and what I realized is that the Falcon Pi player needs to have its own endpoint that is separate from the website's endpoint. Thus, I will be splitting this single Jukebox API file that I have currently deploying to two separate locations into two separate files based upon which endpoints that would need to be accessed. My name is Kenny. This is Tech Talk with RT Services, and we're going to do some PHP development and maybe a little bit of JavaScript as well. Probably not in this video though. All right, so I have this single PHP file that I use for the Christmas light show to serve as a API endpoint. What I want to do though is, because I'm basically going to deploy this as two separate websites, I'm going to actually take out the functionality that does not relate to the Falcon Pi player, so the endpoints that the Falcon Pi player will not be accessing, and remove that out of here, in addition to the endpoints that the website will not be accessing. Remove those out of this version of the file. All right, so I'm going to start with the Lightshow website, and the Lightshow website right now only has one file, which is the index.php, which will then redirect to the Lightshow homepage. The Lightshow website will basically have a subdomain off of my primary personal blog, but I don't want to have all of the Lightshow information on a separate site, so I need to have an index page, more so to, if you are typing in, if you type the subdomain in, that it tells you where you need to go and redirects you accordingly, but also need to have the API PHP page there so that it can be utilized accordingly. All right, so what I'm going to do is to create a theme subset, theme or updated configuration so that it contains theme. And then here we have another, I believe it's called static. Yeah, static templates. So I'm going to copy that, paste that here. Is that correct? Yeah, so that's correct for that. And then there will only be one static template in this particular case, and that would be, and I need to indent that, and so that would be api.php. And I'm going to move this up here, and I'm not going to put a theme in here, and the reason being is because of the fact doesn't matter what theme that I have in here, the index page can show whatever it wants to show. I'm not that particular about what it is showing. All right, so that goes there, and then this page here for the Jukebox API in this configuration will remain the same. So we're good on that part as far as the configuration is concerned. Now let's come over to, so I want to modify the API, the Lightshow API from the Falcon player portion, update that first. So let's remove this post endpoint. In addition to, I need to remove everything, or remove the entire post class. So that would be from here, make sure I click in the correct spot. So from here to here, all of that will go away out of the backend. All right, and so everything in here now should be specific to the Falcon Pi player getting the endpoint, or the endpoints that the Falcon Pi player would call. Now, when it comes over to the website, so we'll need to do the same thing for the website functionality. Everything that's not related to the to that. So that would be the put request needs to go. The post request remains. Get request service. The get request service does need to stay in here because of the fact, I believe it needs to stay. Yeah, because this information is being acquired from the website, so that needs to be left in here. All right, so the request method. So if you have a put request, that does not need to be sent there. The only things that should be coming from the website are get and post requests. Get from the JavaScript to refresh the current song information on the website, and then a post request to submit the requests to the website to be saved into the queue. All right, and so then everything else, the base request service, all of those are supporting methods. In theory, these supporting methods probably could be moved into a single class. But as it currently stands, I'm gonna leave this as it is right now. I may refactor this a little at some point in the future so that I don't actually have all of these methods in here because it is technically, for the most part, still procedural in nature to get these this data or submit this data. Now, as far as the API, I'm going to probably most likely leave it as is because of the fact these endpoints are putting in a lot of information. So the one thing with that, though, I also don't need to get endpoint on the Falcon player side because of the fact I am basically reading that from a put request. Now, what I probably should do, though, is to have this put request modified in a way so that it actually does utilize what it is doing. So I have, in the event of so if I need to get the next song in the queue, then I do a get request. If I, so to get the next song in the queue, do a get request. If I want to update the song that's currently playing, I could do a put request. And then to clear the queue, I could do a delete request. And then that would satisfy the 3 endpoints for the backend API so that I'm not having to do this switch statement here with a put request. And then from there, trying to determine which kind of operation to be performing or something of that nature. Also, I think I may want to change this to FPP API so that it is more specific to what it is doing and what purpose it serves. All right, so let's come back up here. I want to come back to the top because the database, so there are things that are common here. And I could create a common file, but because they're 2 separate sites, I think I'm going to leave them as is. I may pull them out at some point in the future. All right, so if I want to do this, so let's do this. All right, so for a case, so if the case is get, meaning I want to get the next song in the queue, I'm also going to put the break down here and format things because I think they got a little bit out of whack there. All right, so get the current song. To get the next song, I need to copy this out of here and put that there. Now, song, also need to move this up because I believe I'm going to need that for all 3. I could be wrong, but if I don't, then that's fine. All right, so the get request, and I'll also need to update the backend portion of this so that it accommodates it accordingly. But the backend portion will need to be updated so that it's sending the correct request method over to the front end. Otherwise, the front end, not the front end, the other endpoint. Otherwise, the other endpoint will just do whatever it does. All right, so I need that, and I also need a get, a delete in this particular case. Colon and then break. And I'm not sure why this turned a different color. It should be, why is that a different color? Okay, so maybe if I do that, no, it's still doing that. Okay, that's weird. All right, so if I do a delete, I want to clear the queue. So I'm gonna copy this one here and paste it there, then comment that out. And then so my playing will be this action here. Let's comment out, and then so from that I can technically let's not comment that last one. So I put that one there and comment that one out. Okay, and so now I have my 3 operations that are based upon the request methods instead of having a put request that then has a case statement to determine what kind of operation that I want to perform. So that simplifies it because now I just send the correct request method, and if something gets sent that should not be sent, then it defaults to returning a 405. Now the next portion of this is to rename everything. So I don't need the get request service in this, so I'm going to go ahead and take that out. The put request service, I'm actually going to rename this to the FPP request service, and this will I forgot I'm using this plugin that doesn't allow certain functionality unless you pay. So we'll just do that the alternative way, which is to do find and replace in the file. All right, and so that should fix this operation here of the request service. Now, at some point, I'll probably actually come back in and refactor this to be to refactor this so that each of them does have their own separate services in here, and that way everything is not under a FPP service, but instead is under a service that's respective to the action that is being performed. All right, so now we're coming back to the website portion of this. So I should have the get request service and the post request service, which I do, and the other operations are the same in this file. So we should be good to go on that aspect. So things that are common, I do not believe there's anything in here that is common that could be moved up or out. So the rest of this will have to stay as is. I'm not going to test this in this video because in order to test this, I will also need to bring up the back end, and I'm currently not situated where I can do that right now. Excuse me, not the back end. Bring up the FPP portion of the code, and I'm currently not set up to be able to accommodate that at this time. So won't do any testing today, just more so reorganizing and restructuring things so that this is possible. So if I also come back up here to the workflow, I think I need to also, if I haven't already, I need to add, okay, so I did add a deployment configuration for the website lights to be able to automatically deploy when the production environment is also deployed as well. Now, the most circumstances, there will not be any updates to this website lights website, but I wanted to automatically include it as part of the deployment process. That way, in the event there is a update that I need to put in here, whatever the update may be, that the deployment can and will accommodate those things. All right, and so the next thing I think is that is it for as these changes are concerned. So one other thing I think I may need to do is to, in actuality though, I may change this PHP API to just to be split into two files. One file to do the getting of the data from the back end, and then another file to post that data to the back end as need be. But for now, this will be it. So I thank you for watching this video. If you have any comments or questions about web development or PHP development or anything else software related, feel free to drop a comment down below. As always, please be sure to subscribe and follow if you have not done so already. And for those of you that have, I thank you for doing so. Please be sure to come back and come back often because there's always a new video to be released. Thank you for watching.